feeling, one of being luckier and more privileged than my fellow attendees. We had all bought a ticket, but mine came with the jackpot of meeting the band, getting their autographs, and even getting a piece of merchandise free, a tie. One hit, and I was hooked. I should clarify here that not only did I sleep under Lemmy, I slept under all the guys in Motörhead, along with I don't know how many other rock acts, both male and female. And when I say I slept under them, I mean on the bunk bed beneath theirs when we were sharing a tour bus. In my decades-long career, I worked with, and often slept under, bands like Elvis Costello and the Attractions, Hawkwind, Rush, Concrete Blonde, and Black Sabbath. Working the festival circuit, I was lucky enough to meet Iggy Pop, Mick Jagger, and Blondie. I worked for Michael Jackson, and I threw Madonna off my band stage. It was one hell of a ride. This all started, it's worth pointing out, in the 1970s when everyone was brought up with Ian Dury and sex and drugs and rock and roll. A question I imagine will occur to more than one listener then is, did I? And who with? Though I hate to disappoint, the answer is no. I was married twice during my time on the road, but neither of them was famous or in a band. I'm not saying I was an angel, though. Everyone on the road partied hard, and there are plenty of stories of drugs and rock and roll debauchery in these pages. After all, the reason I always chose the bottom bunk was because I could crawl into it if I wasn't in a fit state to do any climbing or clambering. The only disadvantage was the odour of the footwear invariably left just a few feet from my head, which I combated by spraying the curtain with Chanel No. 5. How then did it happen that I, unmusical as I was, as unlike the stereotypes as I was, ended up spending the greatest part of my life touring with some of the biggest and most notorious rock bands in music history? Luck was part of it. The other part was wanting more from life than what seemed to be my lot growing up in the rural north of England. When an opportunity came my way to go touring with a band, I saw a chance to break out and live outside the ordinary, see the world and have a good time, to escape. I don't pretend that my achievements were all down to me, and in these pages I gratefully acknowledge the many people who helped me get where I did. But I'm not so diffident as to make out that grit and graft and refusal to conform to expectations didn't have a lot to do with it. I was a woman in a man's world, and for all the times that caused me problems, there were just as many where I managed to turn things to my advantage. In all the years of working with some of rock and roll's brashest and brightest stars, I never ran, never shouted, never gave in and never gave up. It would have been easy, sometimes far easier, to give up and walk away, but I persisted. And in the end, I became the woman and tour manager I wanted to be. Chapter 1. Getting Out. The backing band for Elvis Costello was called The Attractions, and the one who held the greatest for me was the keyboardist, Steve Naive. It was a joke, sort of, with my friend Jackie that one day I would marry him, while she would marry Elvis Costello himself. It was Wednesday, the 17th of January 1979, and we were in Preston to see the band play the Guildhall as part of the UK leg of a tour extending across North America, Europe, Japan and Australia. Before the show, over a couple of rum and blacks at the Stanley Arms, Jackie and I made a bet to see who would be able to wangle their way backstage and meet the band. Now I think about it, I never got my winnings. In fact, by the end of the night when I met her at the bus station to catch the last bus to Hesketh Bank, I'd clean forgotten about them. Though I went home with little hope for my marriage to Steve Naive, I would be seeing him play with the band again. And soon after that, I would be joining them all on tour. The groundwork was laid the week before